They're a group of people with customs that spark curiosity all over the world. They have their own language, live a nomadic lifestyle in tents, and tend to stick together within their own community. They're known as gypsies, but they also go by names like Romani, Sinti, and Kalin. In this video, I'll be sharing a documentary that dives into the lesser-known side of this people, uncovering details that most people overlook. As you watch, I invite you to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and share this content to help spread this information even further. Now sit back and get ready to dive into the hidden truth about the gypsies and discover what lies behind these unique traditions. Have you ever wondered what it really means to be a gypsy? A lot of people believe you can become one, but that idea doesn't reflect reality. The gypsy people belong to a specific ethnic group, just like indigenous peoples, black people, Arabs, and Jews. It's not something you choose or adopt by will. Being gypsy is something you're born into. The Romani, also known as gypsies, Rom, or Roma, are part of an Indo-Aryan community. Traditionally, they've lived a nomadic lifestyle, though some groups have settled in different regions over time. Linguistic and genetic studies suggest they originated from the northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent, particularly in what is now Rajasthan and Punjab. Historians point out that the migration of the gypsies toward the west happened in waves, possibly around 1,000 years after Christ. The word Ram, found in the Romani language, is linked to the Sanskrit term Doma, which referred to members of the Dom caste, people known for their music and itinerant dance traditions. This historical context helps us understand the rich cultural heritage the gypsies carry, shaped by traditions and customs passed down through generations. Understanding this origin is key to realizing why you can't simply become a gypsy. Instead, it's about recognizing a people with deep-rooted ancestry who have preserved their identity for centuries. In the next few moments, we'll dive deeper into this fascinating world and debunk some of the myths that still surround the gypsies in different parts of the world. The gypsies embarked on a long journey westward, first passing through the Ghaznavid Empire and later the Byzantine Empire. By the 13th or 14th century, they had reached Europe, where they settled in various regions. Today, the largest populations are found in Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, Spain, Turkey, and also Brazil. Starting in the 19th century, many migrated to the Americas, leading to significant communities in the United States and Brazil, each home to around 1 million gypsies. In Brazil, a large portion descends from the Sinti in the south and southeast, as well as from the Kalon and Rom groups. There are also descendants of those deported during the Portuguese Inquisition who found refuge in Brazil. Over time, gypsies also spread to other South American nations and Canada. While some groups are often mistaken for the Irish travelers or the Yenish of Western Europe, the gypsy people have maintained their own unique traditions that set them apart culturally. Did you know there's an Indo-Aryan language with roots in the Balkans and Greece that's spoken by communities all over the world? That's Romani, a language that has several dialects and an estimated 2 million speakers. Since it has been passed down mostly through oral tradition, many people of gypsy origin also speak the dominant language of the country they live in. In some cases, they mix Romani with the local language, creating a blend known as Para-Romani. When it comes to the gypsy population, one big challenge is the lack of precise official numbers. In many places, people of gypsy ethnicity choose not to disclose their identity in censuses, either out of fear of discrimination or for other reasons. There are also cases where descendants of mixed families sometimes identify as gypsies, while at other times they don't fully embrace that identity. To make things even more complicated, some countries don't collect ethnicity-based data, making it even harder to get reliable statistics. Despite these challenges, estimates from 2019 suggest that around 10 million gypsies live in Europe. However, at other times, different organizations have reported higher numbers, up to 14 million. Outside of Europe, there's also a significant gypsy presence, especially in the Middle East and South America, where millions of people may have gypsy ancestry. Have you ever wondered how the different names used by gypsy groups came to be? They are organized into subgroups that identify as distinct ethnicities, based on their customs and how they refer to themselves. Despite this variety, there's one term that connects them all: Rom. Even though some groups prefer other names, they all acknowledge a shared origin and see themselves as different from non-gypsies, whom they call gajos. To understand this better, take the main gypsy group in German-speaking countries, known as the Sinti. They identify with this name, but their original language is called Romani. There are also groups that use variations of kalo or kale, which mean black or dark. These words are similar to the Sanskrit term kala, which is used in Indo-Aryan languages to describe something dark or black. Additionally, the Dam or Damba people from northern India are genetically, culturally, and linguistically linked to the Gypsies. In some Indian languages, Dam became associated with dark-skinned people, which may explain why names like Kale and Kalo emerged as ways to refer to Gypsy groups or as euphemisms used to describe them. These different names highlight the complexity of Gypsy history and identity. Each variation strengthens the sense of connection between groups, while also emphasizing their desire to be recognized according to their own traditions. Have you ever noticed how gypsies have an incredible variety of physical features? Some have very dark skin, others have lighter tones, and some even have green or blue eyes. In some cases, their hair can be blonde, which really shows how diverse this group is. This mix of traits comes from the blending of different populations in India, where the gypsies trace their roots. In the south of India, for example, people tend to have darker skin, while in the north, lighter skin and light-colored eyes are more common. Over time, these different characteristics combined, leading to the diverse appearances we see today. Genetic research reinforces this connection to India. But since there are few written records, much of Gypsy history is known only through oral tradition. Most theories about how they spread across the world rely on linguistic studies. So far, no definitive documents have been found that pinpoint exactly when or how they made their way from India to Europe during the Middle Ages. Even so, each new discovery sheds more light on their journey, keeping the topic alive among researchers and those curious to learn more. Imagine a king who realizes that his people don't have access to something as valuable as music. That was the situation faced by Bahram V, the Sassanid ruler from 421 to 439 AD, when he discovered that the poorer classes couldn't enjoy the sounds and rhythms that entertained his court. Determined to fix this, he sent a request to the King of India. In response, he received 10,000 luris, skilled musicians who played the lute. When the luris arrived, Bahram V gave each of them an ox, a donkey, and a supply of wheat. The idea was that they would support themselves through farming while providing free music for the people. However, a year later, the luris returned empty-handed, having used up all the resources they were given. Frustrated, the king ordered them to leave and wander the world, bringing an abrupt end to his original plan. Later, researchers studied the Romani language and found strong links to languages spoken in northwestern India, especially in the Punjab region. Basic words and grammatical structures showed a direct connection to those peoples. In 2012, genetic studies reinforced this relationship, indicating that the Gypsies likely originated from that area as a unified group before migrating westward. Have you ever wondered where the roots of the Gypsies, who have spread across various parts of the world, including USA, actually come from? Studies suggest that they descend from northern Indian populations known as the Doma. Around 1,500 years ago, a group is believed to have left that region toward Europe, and some of them eventually made their way to Brazil, mainly through Portugal and other European countries. In December 2012, new discoveries reinforced this origin, confirming that modern Gypsies share a common lineage. Genetic research published in the European Journal of Human Genetics revealed that over 70% of the Gypsy men analyzed belong to a single genetic lineage, considered unique to this group, providing strong evidence of their migration from India during medieval times. Beyond these historical and genetic findings, traditional Gypsy society places a strong emphasis on extended family. In this cultural framework, the virginity of unmarried women is still considered highly important. However, compared to other Eastern European groups, Gypsies from that region tend to be more tolerant of intimate relationships before marriage. Have you ever heard about marriages that take place at a young age in some Gypsy communities? This practice sparks debates in many countries because it often involves unions at a very early age. and is tied to traditions passed down through generations. One example is the custom of paying a dowry to the bride's parents, which is defined by Gypsy law. Some more traditional families still follow this practice, while others have adopted new ways of reaching agreements. After the ceremony, the wife becomes part of the husband's family and takes on responsibilities such as caring for him, their children, and her in-laws. Within this family structure, leadership usually falls to the older men, who guide the group's decisions. In general, men have more authority than women, but over time, wives gain respect, especially after having children. This gradual shift allows them to have more of a voice in everyday matters. Clothing is also a key part of this cultural identity. Men typically wear shoulder-length hair, mustaches, or goatees, along with accessories like earrings and necklaces. Women usually keep their hair long and prefer colorful outfits and a variety of accessories, rings, bracelets, and necklaces that create distinctive sounds as they move. The social behavior of many Gypsy communities is guided by a set of rules called marim, which has Indian origins. These norms are still very much alive, especially among most Gypsies and the older generations of the Sinti, and they define what is considered impure in daily life. To understand this system, it's important to know that certain body parts and objects are seen as sources of impurity. For example, the genital area and the lower part of the body fall into this category. Because of this, clothes that come into contact with these areas, including those worn by menstruating women, must be washed separately. The same rule applies to kitchen utensils, which are cleaned in separate areas to avoid any contamination. Another significant aspect is childbirth. Giving birth happens outside the home, as it's considered an impure event. Afterward, the mother remains in this state for 40 days, following the principles of marim. These practices highlight the strength of Gypsy traditions, which continue to shape customs and ensure that values are passed down through generations. Have you ever noticed how different communities handle saying goodbye to their loved ones? In the Gypsy world, burying the dead stands out in contrast to cremation, which is common in other traditions. Since the time of the Rig Veda, both cremation and burial have been practiced, and they remain part of Hindu rituals today. While most Hindus choose cremation, some groups in southern India still follow the tradition of burying their dead. Another interesting aspect is how the Roma approach adoption. An adopted child can receive the status of Romanopan, which allows them to be part of Gypsy culture. But it doesn't make them part of the group by blood. This distinction reinforces the idea that Gypsy identity can be viewed from more than one perspective, encompassing both ethnic heritage and cultural experience. Have you ever noticed how Gypsies connect with different religions? Many follow Islam, others are Christians, and some have converted over time. But there's one thing that ties all these religious choices together: their mystical practices, which trace back to their Indian heritage. Historians believe that techniques like palm reading, known as chiromancy, originated in ancient Indian courts, where they were used to advise kings. In addition, practices involving curses and spirit invocation are also found in Indian traditions, reinforcing the link between Gypsy mysticism and their Eastern roots. If you've made it this far, thank you for following along. I invite you to check out the next video about the possible biblical origins of the Gypsies. It brings up some really interesting points. And of course, drop your suggestions in the comments about other peoples you'd like to learn more about. May God bless you all, and see you